Alrighty. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining our Now Hiring event, where we'll discuss recovery and recruitment. This is the first part of a three-part series. So after this event, we do plan to have two more, obviously, but be on the lookout for emails for registration. And then, of course, follow us on social media, which will be displayed at the end of this presentation. And I want to also thank everybody, not only for joining, but those who donated to the St. Patrick's Center. It's just an awesome cause. So we're really excited that people were able to do that and participate. With that being said, I want to jump right into introducing our panelists who are going to answer, some questions and really have awesome insight on market breakdowns of what we're seeing in regards to recruitment. The first one, we'll go with Dana Baith, the Managing Director at Horizon Hospitality Associates. We have Matt McCloskey, Product and Marketing at H Careers, and Nyla Tuckson, VP of Human Resources, Explore St. Louis. Who will be moderating this event is Todd Hotaling, and he is the Vice President of Revenue and Marketing at Lodging Hospitality Management. Todd, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's get this event kicked off and started.
Great. Thanks so much, Justin, and thank you for everyone for your time this afternoon. This is a very important subject for us, and I wanted to take a minute just to discuss the reality of our industry right now. And just over a year ago, we saw the lowest occupancy as a market and really as an industry in the entire country. Since that time, we've grown considerably in rooms, mostly driven by leisure demand, but now we're in this upside of this trend, and the velocity of our growth is very significant, as you can see on this bar graph here. June outlook is nearly 60% for our market, and really across the whole country is showing about summer months really growing significantly in occupancy, but that's double what it was in Q1. So we're going to hit those highs, guys, and that's 2 months from now. That's 2 months from now. We're going to probably hit the highs for occupancy in 2021. And by the end of 22 and even 23, we're going to be back to our record highs in occupancy that we just saw in 2019. So as an industry, we've been faced with a lot of hard decisions to furlough employees, lay off employees. And now, just 1 year later, we're faced with a significant need to hire and get staffed up and get ready so we can basically manage this demand that's coming through at a really strong pace. So with that, I will we'll go to the panel, and I'm excited to talk with our panel today. I think we have a really good slice of industry experts on what we're faced with, challenges and opportunities. And so with that, Nyla, if you could start with us, what trends are you currently seeing in the marketplace for hiring?
All right, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm happy to be here, Nyla Tuckson. So, as we know, hiring has started to increase now as we're getting back. I think across all industries as we're moving forward and things like that. But some of the things that I've seen in hiring and recruitment and talking with colleagues in my same industry and things of that nature is definitely virtual hiring. I think that's something that has come here and probably here to stay for a while in regards to hiring, getting people in, making sure that they're comfortable and just doing those things virtually and remotely. Also, definitely an increased diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring efforts. We've seen definitely an increase in that as people are across the board, really putting efforts towards that now. I've seen increase in starting salaries. That's jumped up to get people back into these organizations, especially our hospitality industry. And what I also talk about too, and I like is, we had to look within our organization. There was definitely a lot of, furloughs, unfortunate, some layoffs, but different departments dropped down to 0 or 1, but the work still needed to be done. So who internally could fill some of those things, looking at their skill set and their skill path, and if they could move over into some of these different positions and everything like that. So internal moving in and hiring from within is also something that that I've seen and we've done ourselves. So yeah,
Great.
just some of the things that I thought highlighted that area.
Great, thanks, Nyla. Dana, could you offer some of your?
I don't want you to waste your own time.
You do a lot of recruitment, right, Dana? So you're more in the executive kind of recruitment field. Can you explain what's going on in your field there?
So we recruit for any type of management level position in the hospitality industry. So we're with restaurants, hotels, resorts, country clubs, a little bit of everything. And we are a nationwide firm. So I would first of all echo what Nyla said, you know, not just for the St. Louis market, but all across the country, we're seeing the same trends that she discussed. There's you know, a massive need for new employees. As a firm, you know, we probably 3 months ago, we were working on, let's say, 30 positions. And as of today, I think we have 96 positions. So a significant increase in what our clients are looking for. And those clients are looking for qualified candidates that are employed right now. You know, there's a little bit more of an opportunity for individuals that are unemployed significantly due to COVID, but they're still, for the most part, looking for employed candidates, which is, as everyone probably knows, a greater challenge than it normally is. So for us, I'd say the biggest trend that we have seen is an openness for individuals that may not be an exact fit. They may not be a general manager of a, you know, 200-room hotel fitting into a general manager of a 200-room hotel. We might be looking now for an assistant general manager or someone in a smaller property or something along those lines.
Great, thanks, Dana. And Matt, you live in, I mean, as Nyla mentioned, you know, there's virtual, it's heavy online traffic. You're seeing a lot of that traffic. What are some of the trends you're seeing right now?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of trends, both from employers as well as from candidates. You know, kind of backing up in terms of what are we seeing in the marketplace of hiring. We're seeing a lot of pressure, both with industry-specific competition, but as well as pressure from outside the industry. And pressure from outside the industry is making hiring within hospitality just that much harder. And it can be attributed to a couple of things, whether Nyla mentioned starting wages going up, there's a lot of wage pressure. And if we take a look at the reason why, there's a lot of big hiring platforms outside of the industry that are coming in at very high starting wages, you know, whether it's, you know, your Targets of the world, your Amazons of the world, and otherwise. And it's really interesting from a numbers perspective, from a candidate traffic perspective. Right when the pandemic started, everybody hypothesized that job seeker traffic would pop, and that completely did not happen. So when the pandemic started, everybody sat back and didn't know how long it was going to be. So they said, let's see if we can wait this out. And especially as people were furloughed, not laid off and things along those lines. And not just within hospitality, but, you know, across all hiring. You know, there's a lot of third-party platforms, Indeed and otherwise, that put out a lot of market stats. And, you know, we have our own based on our analytics as well as things like Google Trends we take a look at. So one of the things that didn't happen was a big surge in job seeker traffic. Now, in addition, as over time the pandemic continued, what we saw is that, you know, plateaued, job seeker traffic stayed about the same from a traffic perspective, and they started clicking less on jobs too. So even though they were looking at jobs the same amount, they were becoming less interested in those jobs than not clicking. So unemployment, current state, still is at double as a percentage pre-pandemic levels. So we're still at about 7% compared to 3.5%. And interestingly, hospitality is double that. Hospitality unemployment is 13% compared to the average, you know, the national average unemployment of 7%. And really what's happening is a lot of outside of the industry is getting incredibly competitive to try to pull labor in, and that's happening with wage pressure And with that wage pressure, in addition, there's a lot of conversation about people being on the sidelines. Why are they on the sidelines? Well, because it could be because of wage, it could be because of stimulus, it could be because of unemployment, it could be because of childcare. So all of those things are happening all at once. And it's putting incredible pressure on having a real disconnect in the market. And the disconnect being there are a lot of unemployed people, but they're not looking for jobs. And you can argue all sorts of reasons why. But that being said, it's becoming that much more difficult for employers to hire. And some of the biggest ones nationally outside of the industry are coming into the industry. We at H Careers did a lot of surveying. We have, hundreds of thousands of candidates who come to our site each month. And with that, we can survey, what's happening. And one of the things that we had asked multiple times through the year and through the pandemic is, do you intend to stay in hospitality? And our hypothesis right away was that people, could stay on the bench and stay furloughed for a certain period of time, and then economic pressures move them into something else. And the industry is incredibly optimistic and incredibly resilient in saying, I want to stay in hospitality. But over time, especially over the last couple of months, people have waited too long, especially at kind of more entry-level roles, and have started moving into other roles and have started to move outside of hospitality. And there's also a general vibe just in terms of, how they were treated, through this all too. So what I see really just in terms of a trend, long answer, apologies if it's too long, but with a little stats mixed in, is that, it's becoming much more competitive. Wage pressure is becoming, very real. With that, outside industries are really absorbing hospitality candidates. We're seeing a lot of employers say that they're looking to hire, not that they want to, but because they have to, from outside of the industry and then train.
That's great. Thank you, Matt. And we'll touch on that a little bit later as well. Just outside of the industry, where do we need to now be going that our bench isn't there, our bench strength of potential candidates? And Nyla, you mentioned, hiring within and looking at candidates you have, but, a lot of our properties and assets have very thin teams right now. What are some of the sourcing sites, though, beyond internal candidates that you're seeing or using currently? What are you relying on to kind of fill in, these recruitment needs?
So for us, and just to step back a little bit, I'm the VP. I'm over HR for Explore St. Louis, which is the marketing division, but we also manage the convention center and the Dome Stadium.
Right.
So the larger need is on that side as we start seeing our events return. We have part-time staff, guest service hosts, ticket sellers, ticket takers that are needed as we're moving forward. And again, last year when we had nothing, we're trying to get those individuals back engaged and everything like that. But for the most part, where we've had to go a lot is, and for some staffing agencies, we've had to have some temp agencies to really help us fill in those different gaps, because of budget restraints. I'm always looking for those ways I can put our message out there for free. So different sites and things like that. We've had Indeed has been a big one for those type of roles. We have a lot of partners, pre-pandemic and then also still, as we're moving forward. But a lot of partners are Urban League, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We did Better Family Life. A lot of the local colleges and universities we partnered with. Some of our positions are pretty specific depending on that convention center side and things like that. So a lot of the sites I had to go to were specific to that type of industry, like IEVM, which is venue managers, to recruit for positions on that side of things. But social media, that's a big one that we've, went out there, your Facebook and Twitter, just to kind of put the message out there as we see our younger individuals in the job market who use those sites. So that's where they go and kind of get that information. But yeah, we again LinkedIn. So we went through the gamut, everything that we can. And if I may find some more from this call today, so I will be happy to hear those as well. So
well, let's definitely hope so. And
yeah.
And then Dana, if you could comment just, with as Matt mentioned, our pool is very limited, and it seems a lot less. And you mentioned, your number of clients has increased significantly. Are you, what strategy, what do you think strategies need to look like? Or have you changed strategies then with that increased client pool, or what are some thoughts around that?
Well, I would say that our strategies as a firm have really not changed significantly. Our personal strategies have helped us, I think, to be successful during these times. And what I mean by that is we utilize, kind of tying into that last question too, we utilize the traditional sites that most people use from time to time. However, LinkedIn is probably far greater for us than a lot of other sites are. But occasionally we look at Indeed and ZipRecruiter and H Careers and things like that. But our success is in finding candidates that our clients can't find. They don't come to us to find the free candidates that are out there on Indeed and Career Builder and Monster. They're looking for the candidates that aren't out there sourcing this, or out there looking. So our cold calling efforts, our database of over 300,000 hospitality employees, those are the things that we really rely on the most. And that's not just saying that that's what we do, but I'm offering that as a suggestion to everyone else, that that's where you should be looking as well. Look at your competitors, look at who they have employed, spend time on LinkedIn, on Zoom Info, places like that, finding the individuals that are working in jobs similar to what you're trying to fill, and go out there and hunt those individuals down. Because as we've all said in the first, 10, 15 minutes of this, there's not a lot of employees out there that are looking for jobs right now. And so if you want someone that's going to be a good employee, then go out there and find someone that's a good employee for somebody else.
Are you guys seeing, as kind of a collection of different channels, are you seeing social media perform better or increase its value, versus, a couple, 5 years ago, of course, but you all mentioned LinkedIn, but some of these positions you were looking for, maybe high schoolers or younger generations that might not have a LinkedIn profile. Is that a Facebook then opportunity? Can you guys discuss that a little bit for us?
I would say that social media has a much greater role than it did 5 years ago, and especially even post-COVID or during COVID, however you want to look at it, because people have become more active socially. I mean, on social media, that is, because the face-to-face socials kind of been taken away. And I wouldn't be too concerned about the recent graduates not being on LinkedIn and things like that. I know I have 2 kids that recently went through college, and both of them were taught that LinkedIn's something you should be actively involved in. So I think you'll see that group here just as much as anybody else.
That's great.
Yeah, I would. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nyla.
No. I was just going to agree with Dana. Absolutely. I think that has really increased. And I would agree with the comment about LinkedIn. I see so many, college graduates, that's something that they've just been taught to go to and go there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would add, and I would reinforce, it is becoming more and more important. And I think the different channels act very differently. So, I mean, you had asked Todd about LinkedIn versus Facebook and otherwise. LinkedIn is going to be great for candidates to market themselves and for employment brand, why work here, telling stories, kind of personifying what the culture is and everything like that. And candidates care. Candidates really, really care. We've run a lot of studies on that too. What drives you to work for a certain company? And a lot of it's about values, about culture, and of course about benefits. And one of the surveys, interestingly, that we launched, I think in December of last year, is from a candidate perspective, what kind of benefits do you think are going to be more important in 2021? Resoundingly, healthcare. Not at all surprisingly, given what just happened this past year, people care about healthcare. They want to make sure that they have that and that they're treated and that they're taken care of. So if you can offer healthcare, mention that. discuss that, bring that up, market that. Think about job ads, think about, positioning these open roles as marketing, telling your story, why work here, what you have to offer, what you can give back, not just what the roles are and what the person is going to be doing, not what you're expecting out of them, but what they can expect out of you and what you can add and what type of value you can bring to that too. So I would especially through LinkedIn, but certainly through Facebook as well, try to tell that story if you can do that through those job ads. Now that's employment branding, leveraging those other platforms to target certain candidates can be a little bit easier through LinkedIn than it can through Facebook. Facebook is very regulated when it comes to specific advertisement and the employment opportunity. They just want to make sure that they're on the good side of EEOC and everything like that too. So it is fairly regulated, which completely makes sense, as it should be. But yeah, I think as much as thought can be put into telling your story about your employment brand and why to work here. And that's a shift. A lot of times job ads and job recruitment is all about what I as an employer expect from you. And the tables have turned. We have to be telling the story about what we can offer.
I was going to wrap up my answer and basically also just to reiterate what Matt's saying, that 2 years ago we had a lot of clients that paid just enough. They were on the low end maybe of the salary range, or their benefits weren't that great, but right now we're really pushing those clients to raise that pay. Be a salary leader, because if you want to attract somebody at this point, you've got to have something to offer them.
Yeah, those great points. Thanks, guys. I had a question come up. So as far as you post jobs on Facebook, and it can be difficult to target certain things for that audience. Is LinkedIn? I had a question come up. Do you have to have a LinkedIn profile? Like for instance, a hotel, do they have to have a profile to post jobs, or how does that work? Matt, could you comment on that just as maybe an expert in the field of that kind of channel?
Yeah, generally you can set up different types of accounts, and what they have is recruiter accounts where you can set up as a recruiter the ability to reach out to certain candidates as well as to post jobs. Whenever you're going to be posting a job, it should be linking back to a certain company page, such as a property page. They're very easy to set up. If a certain property doesn't have one, I would certainly look into adding that. It's a logo, it's a description. It should be kind of your boilerplate description, but pull in why to work here, pull in benefits, pull in culture, and generally, especially for any kind of management staff, management is going to want to show on their profile where they work in the first place too. So I think it's going to benefit not just recruiting, but it should benefit current staff to be able to indicate where they're working.
And as you guys talk about all these different sites and different, Indeed, Staffed Up, and Facebook, is there one that's just one that shines above all the other? Is Facebook it, or is there one that you would recommend to our audience today? You absolutely 100% have to have a presence on. H Careers.
I got a bias. Yeah. I'm biting my tongue.
Yeah. Okay, well, how about Dana or Nyla? Maybe in your what you're seeing, where your volume of candidates are coming in, are you seeing a difference in anything, or is it just kind of they all have their benefit?
Yeah, so I have two different candidate levels. My part-time, that per event staff, and then when I am recruiting for maybe a salesperson or a manager or something of that nature. So I have seen more responses and from LinkedIn on that. So it's just been in my experience over the last maybe, not last year, but a couple of years before, in getting more responses that way and through LinkedIn. So that's where I've seen, I haven't recruited, unfortunately, in about a year now. It's building up. So I'm not quite sure where it's going at this point, but that has been one site that has been beneficial for us.
Great, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about the candidates we are connecting with, the candidates we are seeing come through. Are they, looking for jobs? Are they looking to start careers? I think one of the opportunities we have as an industry is what I tried to highlight earlier with our slide. Is just our momentum of growth is significant. I mean, if 2019 was our highest occupancy as an industry, and we're going to get right back to that in a year or two, we should just be able to grow, RevPAR revenues, even more than beyond that, at least for the next, who knows, maybe 8 to 10 years till the next downturn happens in the economy. Are you guys hearing? Are people looking for their careers? And Dana, you mentioned, that your candidates typically are already in their career. But Matt, or can you qualify that on your channel? Are you seeing that? Or Nyla, as far as the candidates you're seeing, what's the interest level in starting your career in hospitality?
I'll jump in on that. I'll answer that two different ways, and both through the lens of partners that we currently and actively work with. Number one, we're partnered with ICRE, and I'm going to stumble on the acronym. ICRE is the International Council on Higher Education. Restaurants, and basically it's an association for hospitality instructors at higher ed institutions. So
Okay.
imagine an association of hospitality professors, and we're partners with ICRE. It's a crazy acronym, but that's what we all do. Nonetheless, their biggest concern is people who have just invested in a 2-year or 4-year program, and who have just invested in this program specifically for hospitality and paid their institutions, a lot of money for that, ensuring that there's a job market for them. So what we've partnered with them for is to really try to help, number one, identify the opportunities, but also kind of get direction from industry leadership in terms of what to do and where to go. And, in the fall, it's interesting. I had a conversation with Nikki Massey, who is the SVP of recruitment for Hyatt for the brand, on the brand side. And we talked about what advice would you give to folks who are graduating from programs right now and just about to enter the hospitality marketplace. And her advice was, give us a chance, just try. Know that the jobs are coming back, stay in the industry. We know it's an incredibly tough time right now, but consider roles that might be a little bit beneath what you thought you were going to get graduating from school, because with the rebound, your career is going to skyrocket. And people who are properly trained and people who have the credentials that might be starting at a little bit more of an entry-level role than they had anticipated are going to be charting their own course when it comes to a career path. Now, the second way I'll answer the question is through a different partner that we have, and that's with the American Hotel and Lodging Association Foundation. And what the foundation has invested in is casting a wider net, especially for more entry-level roles. And they've worked with us to build out a new platform. They call it the Opportunity Youth Hiring Program and platform. They're investing in training program grants through local community-based organizations. And then through these CBOs, they're telling candidates to go to this hiring platform. And with this, educating candidates who don't know too much at all about hospitality and about what it's like to step foot in a hotel oftentimes. And, oftentimes people going through community-based organization training programs might be disadvantaged youth, unemployed, underemployed. And with that, providing the tools and the tips and the job readiness training, as well as, some basic certifications to introduce them to hospitality in the first place, but with visibility into what the career pathways are, showing them there's a place, there's a way to go. These are oftentimes roles that you don't need sometimes a college education for to advance and to move your way up, sometimes pretty rapidly. And really kind of telling that story and getting that visibility and getting candidates in through that perspective as well is, ways that we're working with both of those groups to try to cast a wider net, as well as to retain workforce that's been trained for hospitality into the industry as well.
Right. Thank you, Matt. Nyla, could you offer some additional commentary on what a career path in hospitality might look like right now?
Sorry, I was
Gotcha.
having problems with my always technological problems. So right now, kind of looking at us and coming out of COVID and hospitality again, as everyone said, I think as things are turning around, those opportunities are coming back and going through there as you can do that. So I think there, again, as organizations, and what we did was we had to reevaluate where our careers were and our jobs were within the organization as we were coming out of this to see exactly what we needed. We may have been, there may have been some things that we really didn't need. And I think this pandemic, as unfortunate as it was, gave us an opportunity to reevaluate some things and maybe make the right choices in jobs and positions that we really need. So we looked at that. And again, I said before, we found some different ways for different individuals with different skill sets to move into some other things as well. But I think it's a great opportunity for someone who, as things are now coming back, there's so many jobs that are opening back up in the hospitality industry. There's a great opportunity for those who want to step into that career, into that hospitality path. As Matt said, there's different schools and different careers. I saw that before COVID. There's so many programs out there for hospitality, so many colleges and universities who are offering those programs where they didn't 15 years ago. I've been here about 23 years, and I just saw an influx of those career opportunities in the universities and colleges. We went a few years ago, went to Mizzou and recruited those students coming out of those hospitality programs and things like that who really wanted to move forward in this path. So I think there's an opportunity, as long as things are opening up and those jobs there are opening back up, then I believe there really is some opportunity and some career paths for others who really want to get into this industry or stay in this industry. I know I've heard from several people who, unfortunately lost jobs or were furloughed for a long time during this, but they, you got to love this industry. They love it. They want to get back into it. So I think there's an opportunity there as well. We saw a lot, like we all did. Hotels had to furlough, lay off people and everything like that. Well, as I have, sales positions opening or something of that nature, and if those individuals are still out there, I hate to say I'm pulling, but those are good people who were in the industry and they want to stay here. So I think that's an opportunity there as well. I'm hearing, not a lot right now because we don't have a lot of opportunities, but I am getting a few. Hey, if you have some opportunities that come up, I would be interested in doing that. So I think they're coming back and they're using those networks to network of individuals that they used to work with or they know to get to see exactly where these organizations are and what opportunities they now have since things are starting to turn around. So.
Great, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the entry-level spots and about getting your foot into a career and a path in hospitality. Are we seeing? I mean, there's a lot of new things coming out, whether it's incentives or bonuses, and different variations of pay scales, based on attendance. Are we seeing any of that work? Dana, are you hearing any of that from your clients? I mean, hey, let's throw something else at this. Is it working? Is it converting? I think one of the issues right now that a lot of us are having is we're setting up interviews. We are, trying to get people to come in and apply, and they either there is nobody that wants to come in, or they schedule an interview and they just don't show up. Like, what are you guys hearing out there in the industry as far as things that are happening and are working? Oh, Dan, I got you muted here, bud.
There we go.
Yeah.
First of all, I would say, just to reiterate, like I said earlier, we don't really do entry-level positions as a firm, but I do know from talking to my clients that that is probably the hardest segment of our industry to fill right now. Those individuals do not seem to care to work. The benefits that they have of staying home is almost as great as getting out there in the workforce. And a lot of those people have moved on to other industries as well. So that's a segment that is extremely challenging to recruit right now. And what I'm seeing is higher salary rates to bring those people in, greater benefits and incentives, better hours, just a massive improvement in the work opportunity that's being provided. And the other thing that I would tie into, I wanted to answer some of that last question, is that now I feel is probably a better time than ever to be part of our industry. There are so many job opportunities out there. Like Matt said, you can quickly catapult up through the industry. But not only that, but other industries are seeing a benefit in bringing our people into them, such as healthcare and other related fields. And as a result of COVID and other changes in the world right now, we're seeing brand new types of restaurants, brand new types of hotels and lodging opportunities that have never existed in the past, that are creating other opportunities for people, that are really providing some interesting career choices.
Yeah, that's a good point. You mentioned, some of our team members had to leave the industry and they've joined other industries. And is there any industries that you guys are seeing, or Matt, maybe with your tracking online, like that a lot of candidates are coming from, or that what industries could we look towards to get some people back? And what is maybe an industry that, outside of hospitality, where we could find like skills and recruit from?
Yeah, certainly other industries are coming after hospitality candidates. One of the ones that we've seen the most aggressive is senior living, because there's so many carryover skills and carryover traits. And interestingly, especially at the entry level, logistics, Amazon, the world of that. And one of the ones that's really making a lot of headlines in this marketplace for us right now is Uber. They 2 weeks ago announced plans to invest $250 million to hire people and pull people back onto the road. And that's going to be very tough to compete with. So that being said, where can we go? How can we get more candidates into the marketplace, whether it's from other industries or otherwise? Every time I speak with employers, whether it's hiring managers, HRDs, general managers, otherwise, the skills that stand out the most that are sought after is generally the word I hear the most often is empathy. And, oftentimes what I hear is that the actual hard skills can be trained. Empathy is what needs to be focused on. So really anything that is service related is a great place to look for other hospitality candidates. There's so much overlap, and that's a wide swath, if you will. So I kind of struggle with, is there one particular industry that we can try to target and go after? Because a lot of service related industries are hospitality, right? That empathy skill is generally what you're going to find. And that's something that's very much sought after.
Nyla, have you had any success looking at other industries in the past or in the future here?
Yes, in the past, definitely. I agree with Matt. Anything service related, I found great candidates when I was going into just maybe like a Walgreens, and the person had such a great personality and customer service related. And I talked to them about, hey, you want a little part-time experience down here at the stadium, because they just had that type of personality. So yes, I think you can, any type of, retail, any type of, especially for my end in those entry level positions, any type of service related, industry like that. Even the fast food industry, found some great candidates there and just brought them on, because they just, expelled that great customer service. And that's what we're looking for, because especially at our events, you're dealing with customers consistently, and you have to, one, like to do it. You're going to know how to deal with some challenges if you have to, and just understand that type of service to a lot of individuals. So those type of industries we've definitely looked at, pulled from, and they can definitely pull from us, and I think, I've seen where retail, all of us, it's across the board, any type of customer service type of entry level positions, we're all looking for that staff, but that good staff, that those individuals who really like to do that and have that customer service. It's not a necessary experience, but just have the skill set to where they're great, friendly individuals, and we can train the rest. We can train the job. So, yeah.
Thank you. Dana, have you guys gone into any other industries to pull candidates out for your search efforts?
No, not at all.
Great.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, our clients are looking for us to give them people with experience in that role, so we wouldn't consider that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those old adages, if we were looking for somebody with experience, well, how do I get into an entry level position if I don't have any experience, right? So it's different levels and kind of the staff, but I just reiterating that now's a great time to start. If you start somewhere at an entry level position, you're not going to be there long, because the acceleration and need for additional managerial staff and further, supervisors, et cetera, is going to be so significant that, and then we typically like to hire from within as well. And we're going to see that pull up. And I think, we have a graduating class here in a month, or well, in a few weeks rather. What is their outlook going? And Matt, I just kind of a tangent here, but can you see data as far as, college, our upcoming college graduates? Are they hitting the site? Are they searching? Or what is our outlook for that interest level for that age group?
They're coming to the site, they're searching. One of the things that we've heard from them, especially through their faculty advisors and everything like that too, is they oftentimes had been really coached into working with internships to build up their experience in the past. And COVID really put a damper on that, whether it was having less people, there to mentor them, whether it's at properties or otherwise. Oftentimes, you couldn't at a property just pull in more people, who aren't working there just because of exposure and risk and everything like that too. So one of the concerns that they have is oftentimes they were graduating with internship experience, and now this class in particular may not be. So one of the things we're expecting to see, so they are very active and they're very actively looking, and they're cautiously optimistic. They know going into it, they may be coming into the marketplace with a little less real world experience than they otherwise may have, but they are still, trying to get into the market.
Great, thanks, man. So I just have a couple more questions here, and then we'll wrap up and see if there's any additional questions. If you do have a question or a comment, even just throw that in the chat, and I can bring it up and address it. But we'll start with you, Nyla, and we'll go around. What do you guys see as a positive that has come out of our current kind of acceleration of recovery after that really hard year we just got through? What's maybe a positive that has come out of that?
Ooh, great question, Todd. What is a positive? So, again, and if we're relating it to our topic here, recruitment and hiring, and going through kind of what I said earlier, we looked within our operations and looked at again if there were some things that we could do differently, add to the operation. So I think it was, a positive thing for us to be able to kind of look and revamp some of the things that if we needed to do that. So I think taking a look at those different things and opportunities. Also, how we're recruiting differently and those challenges and even working from home. We never did anything like that. We never thought we could. Right. And when you had to get it going, you had to get it going. So that's we did that. But it's another possible benefit that we could offer as we're recruiting and talking with individuals, depending on the job, a lot of our jobs you can't work from home because it's in the operational of the facility in the building, but some we were able to do that. So those, looking at that a little bit differently as well, as where we thought we never, no, we can't ever work from home. So something of that nature to help staff when we need to. So that was one, probably one big thing that definitely came out of that. And then also looking at our operations as well, and looking at that window in regards to things. And, and again, with recruitment and moving forward, I have, learned from, being on panels such as this, getting other ideas, also talking more with colleagues on how we can do different things. I think virtual is going to be here for a little bit. And I think people, from what I've seen, and like that, and if they can do that and have the technical aspect to do that, I think it's fine. I think we're going to learn a little bit more on entry level positions as I start working through that. What are some other things that I might have to do? So it may have to be go back old school. I know it was so funny. I went to a retail store, went to TJ Maxx, and they had this in my bag. Now hiring, they just put it in my bag, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to figure some things out, get some more flyers or something where we didn't used to do that anymore. But again, on that end, but if I had to say a positive again, that whole operational outlook plus the work from home thing, which had benefited a lot of our employees during this time. So
Great, thanks, Nyla. Dana, positive?
I would say the increased use of technology in the hiring process has really improved opportunities for interviewing. We have far more candidates right now considering relocation positions because they're able to do video interviews that just weren't an option 2 years ago. I mean, yeah, the technology was out there, but I think people in the hospitality industry felt like they really needed to touch and feel and see somebody, and really gauge their personality from an in-person interaction. And they've learned that they can do that through video, which has really helped out. The other positive thing is I really see an increased empathy from hiring managers. 2 years ago, if you had a 2-year gap of employment because you took care of a loved one, we'll pass on you. But now we're looking at that a little differently. We're realizing that healthcare and personal challenges can really be overwhelming, and sometimes we need to accept those and consider that candidate. So,
Right. All right, thanks, Dana. Matt, maybe some commentary. What's a positive that's an outcome of all this going on?
Yeah, there's two positives that come to mind for me, and the first is an opportunity for accelerated advancement. And I think this is something that can be put into employment brand and can be marketed and messaged to candidates as well, because of what's been happening, with less people running more things, people are learning more, and people are, taking on more and being able to advance their careers more, and going through that. The other one I would say is diversifying skill set. That'd be the second one, an opportunity for, everybody within the industry to diversify their skill set. Oftentimes, whether they like it or not, people have had to take on more broader responsibilities, if they have been staying at their locations and at their properties. And generally that will lead to accelerated advancement as well. So myself personally, I see those as two big opportunities to help the industry forward and to message and to market and to communicate.
Great, thank you. And then our final question to close, if you guys could offer one piece of advice for candidates and then one piece of advice for recruiters looking to start a career in hospitality or looking to hire, what would it be? So I'm looking for two pieces of advice here. Nyla, will you start for us?
Sure. So one piece of advice for candidates looking to get into the industry. So, do some research on the type of career you want. There's so many careers in hospitality. We've got on our side, I keep coming back to our two different types of divisions we have here. So our marketing division, and it's still within this hospitality industry. So there's marketing careers, there's sales careers, there is services careers here, depending on your skill set and what you're interested in and what you're doing. So really kind of research what the path you really would like to take in that. On the operational side, you've got event management. So they're working with planning, working with events and planning and things of that nature. Even to the operational part of it, where they're working behind the scenes events and things of that nature. So, definitely do some research in the industry, and understand too, a big thing for us is customer service. Getting the clients, getting them here, keeping them here, making sure they're enjoying when they're in the facility and also in St. Louis. So you have to really be customer service oriented and really enjoy that. And then I also say too, our hospitality industry is a 24/7 operation. So understanding that type of industry where, we're working evenings, weekends, holidays, all of that. So you really got to understand that, but it's a fun industry. It can be really fun. It can be enjoyable. You can learn a lot about your city because, hospitality, we're selling and we're wanting to bring people here to our city. So you learn quite a bit. You may know before anyone else knows what's happening in the city and in our area. So it really is fun. So recruiting, we have to be open to changing our thought process now with recruiting. As Dana said, and he made a really good point about, looking at the resumes and there's little breaks in time and things like that, and where we wouldn't necessarily pull that person out. So I'm not looking as in depth like that. Can we train some of these things? What can we really do? Is this, is a lot of our jobs that we need, are they trainable? And we're just looking for maybe that person who has a really good personality or customer service, and we can deal with the other things. So we really, as recruiters now, have to open our minds to different things like that. And then I think the virtual too, and figuring out how to meet those individuals and get them to come to us easier, or and kind of figuring that out, or what works best. I know the Zoom, we're all kind of tired of Zoom calls and doing that, but it actually has worked really well when I have had to, and I've had to do a little bit of recruiting here the last couple of months, and that has really worked well with fitting everybody's schedules in, especially after you schedule different managers and different times. So that has definitely been something that has helped with this. But those couple of points I think would be kind of my advice in going forward. So
Great, thank you. Dana, maybe just two positives, pieces of advice for recruiters and then just candidates looking to get in.
So for candidates, I think there's two very simple things that I see time and time again. One is, if you're going to take the time to interview for a position, then you need to display an excitement, a passion, and interest in that position. The number one reason that clients reject candidates is because they weren't excited about working for them. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to take the time to interview for something, be excited about it. If you're not excited, then don't interview. It's a waste of everybody's time. The other thing is, we all talked very early on in this about social media. If you're interviewing, then clean up your social media. Today's culture is very focused on cultural sensitivity, and if you have offensive comments or questionable comments or posts or memes or whatever, it could very well take you out of consideration. Great. So those are the candidates and they're very simple, but from a client standpoint, I would say, we talk about recruiting in two ways: passive recruiting and active recruiting. Passive recruiting is posting an ad on Career Builder, putting an ad on LinkedIn, handing out flyers, those type of things. Active recruiting is going out there and actually seeking the candidate. And right now in today's job market, if you truly want to fill your position, you need to be actively recruiting. You don't just post an ad on LinkedIn, but you get on LinkedIn and you start forming connections with potential employees. You go out on Facebook and you look for people that talk about hotel sales or whatever industry you're in, and you reach out and try to connect with those people. You call your competitors and try to talk those people into working for you, but you have to be actively recruiting to be successful right now.
Great advice. Great advice. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, my advice to candidates, especially at more entry or mid-level roles, from outside the industry in particular, would be give it a try. Obviously they have to be qualified and to have the passion and desire for customer service and be empathetic and want to deliver service. But I think there's trepidation right now about how much this industry was decimated in the past year, and we have to get them through that and let them know it's stable, it's not rebounding, it's coming back, and telling the story and letting them know that. So I think, give the industry a try. It is coming back. It is stable and it's completely rebounding. There's a ton of opportunity, and go for that opportunity if you're interested in that. Advice to employers, there's so much. There's one that actually comes top of mind, and this kind of reinforces something that Dana said, that he has had these conversations with employers, and that would be wage. There is so much wage pressure right now that employers are going to need to get into break-even analysis about what would the cost of that extra wage be compared to how much revenue would be lost by not being able to staff or turn over rooms. And we've honestly had conversations with employers who their revenue managers are looking to put in minimum night stays and turn down business for less than a certain amount of nights because they can't afford to turn over the rooms if it's like that. And that's just going to be exasperated when the summer comes. And everybody is so eager to travel that when the summer comes, whatever occupancy we're seeing right now is going to be amplified. And I think, Todd, this is kind of reinforced by that slide that you shared just right in the beginning, that this is going to be exasperated in the summertime. And in addition to that, the stimulus and unemployment benefits run through after the summertime. So if that happens to be one of the reasons that people are on the sidelines, it won't be as much childcare at that point because the kids will be out of school. But wage pressure is going to continue because of both stimulus as well as recruitment from outside the industry and retail and logistics paying at very high rates. So it's going to become a numbers game. How much would that extra cost be versus how much business might you have to turn down, and what's the break even, and crunch it and make some really hard decisions. But you can make those decisions based on some numbers, and it's not going to feel great to get into a bidding war. There's no question about that, but it's so tough right now for some of these roles. I just hate to see rooms go vacant because there's not staff to turn them over.
Yeah, great. Guys, wonderful insights today. I really appreciate your time and willingness to provide those insights from your positions. Just to do some quick recaps, we have a small pool in hospitality. We have to expand our pool. We got to do that through education, through promoting the value of hospitality, the benefits that we have, we didn't mention travel benefits, but that's a big one, right, guys? Like, as you work with a hotel, you get travel benefits with that brand. And then healthcare being big. And then we got to get back to those other industries that took a lot of our people or are currently taking our people: logistics, healthcare, Uber. And then, we might need to look at our wage or kind of wage caps and salary caps as far as benefits go as well, and really analyze that as an industry to get back in there. And even if a candidate's not the right fit, maybe you could train them to be the right fit, and definitely start getting active in our recruitment. Really great conversation today, guys. We're coming up on our hour. This recording will be available for everybody that registered for the webinar. And again, thank you so much, Nyla, Dana, Matt. Thank you so much for your time today. We're going to put up just our ending slide here. We'd love for you guys to follow us on our different platforms, and we have a lot of valuable programs throughout the year. And it's a great organization to be involved with, and to learn a lot of insights and really generate either your career growth or, just to operate better in your current career. So again, thank you for everybody's time, and we'll see you in June, right? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Thank
Thanks,
you
Todd.
for having me.